Our mission? To explore strange new worlds, to seek out new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Rousing stuff, Captain English, sir.
You really think so? I was afraid it would sound a little bit cliched. The last thing I'd want would be for anyone listening to think that was going to be representative of the quality of all our dialogue throughout this entire voyage.
Perhaps it's best not to heighten expectations too early on, boyo.
Yes, Jones. A healthy dose of self-deprecation should neutralize. Jones.
Yeah, so long as we can avoid resorting to trite nationalistic jokes, we should be fine.
Yes, I absolutely agree, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. Well, I'm parched. Who's for tea? Jones, as your commanding officer, I'm ordering you to go make me a cup of tea. 2 sugars. And go easy on the milk. I'll need it for my Weetabix in the morning.
I don't think they provided us with milk, boyo. Just the powdered stuff.
Curse this lack of lactation. Very well. Jones, as your commanding officer, I'm ordering you to go make me a cup of tea. 2 sugars. And go easy on the milk. I'll need it for my Weetabix in the morning.
I don't think they provided us with...
Curse this lack... You stay here at the controls, Jones, while I navigate to the ship's kitchen facilities to acquire a refreshing beverage. The walk will give me the chance to familiarize myself with the intuitive navigation system.
Can you grab us a cup too?
I feel compelled to say an authoritative yet non-committal perhaps in this circumstance, Jones. It would be an appropriate reason to practice using the inventory system, yet I fear that such a magnanimous gesture may erode the command hierarchy aboard this vessel. I'll be on my way now, just as soon as I choose to exit this chair. I appear to have activated some sort of context-sensitive menu. I should select the appropriate option, illustrated by these exquisite icons. The seat of power. I appear to have activated some sort of context-sensitive... The humble tray table. Best stow this for now. I would do well to study these closely in case of an emergency, like we're stranded immobile in space. I'll have to take a closer look at these safety instructions for peace of puzzle. I mean, mind. Peace of mind. Why, the humble paperclip. A staple of any adventure gamer's inventory. No doubt you'll soon be broken and forced into a situation you'll find uncomfortable. The story of many a man. That leads out of the cockpit. Now, to find the kitchen. If memory serves me correct, it's just down this corridor, beyond the fourth wall. That's the gravity simulation switch. The animators rather we leave it on. Less things to move. Weightlessness doesn't affect me. My affinity with the working class keeps me grounded. Now, let's see. That leads into the sitting room. That leads into the sit... There appears to be something stuck in the drive. Gosh, no matter how many times I keep clicking on things, this drive won't become unblocked. I'll have to think of something else. Let's see if prodding this around fixes anything. Aha! .44 megabytes of virgin digital space. 3.5 inches. It's compact, but still large enough to grip. This computer is full of secret data. We keep the intel inside. .44 megabytes of virgin digital space. Start cutting just yet.
Going to the kitchen, boyo. You won't find anything fit for human consumption in there.
Presumably the manufacturer opted for shards of metal as opposed to goose down. The upholstery is made from genuine organic polyester. Of course, it lacks the precision of a mouse and keyboard. Greatly improves one's cognitive functions. Don't take my word for it. Ask science. It's a fridge. Why? It's packed to the rafters with mild English cheddar. There's a seemingly unlimited supply of mild English cheddar cheese. Plenty to share. Best leave some space for alternative dairy produce. That's the radio wave oven. It's the same idea as a conventional microwave oven, except while your meal is cooking, you can listen to the cricket on Radio 5. AM, FM, defrost, it's got the works. It's an inconspicuous economy toaster. I am feeling rather peckish.
Ah! 你個死英國佬，我鎖開你隻手咯喎！
That settled it. I'm going gluten-free when I get back to Old Blighty. And they'd call it a Hoover. Best avoid that, lest we be accused of stealing gags from popular 80s aeronautical disaster comedies. It's Alan's mug, isn't it? It's for my Rosie Lee. Sorry, Cockney crockery. It's our autonomous beverage dispensing robot, Gertie. It really takes the misery out of making tea. What are your prime directives? I don't suppose you've kept in touch with Matilda or any of the other house robots? Ha! Remember that time you fell foul to a case of mistaken identity at Moss Eisley? Was Vista as bad for you as it was for the rest of us? You know, we have a lot in common. In the movies, the evil villain always ends up being the supercomputer or Alan Rickman. What are your prime directives? There is a procedure that we have to adhere to. leads into the cockpit. I don't believe the isolation of space has forced me to talk to the furniture just yet. It doesn't strike me as much of a talker. The only inanimate object I tend to chat to is Sub-Lieutenant Jones.
Any danger of making that tea, boyo?
Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
So how's the family back in old Blighty? Been keeping up with the Joneses?
Mum and Dad are fine, and Harrod's getting ready to go to uni in Swansea.
Fantastic! What's she studying?
3D computer animation.
Oh! Well, that's a degree, I guess. Can I get you anything else from the kitchen? A biscuit, perhaps?
Oh, I'd love a biscuit. Bring us back a Jaffa cake.
Jaffa cakes aren't biscuits, they're cakes.
How can they be cakes? Look at all the size of them.
Weren't you taught that size isn't important?
It's never been an issue for me, boyo.
Me neither. So how's the family back in old Blighty? Been keeping up with the Joneses?
Mum and Dad are fine, and Harrod's getting ready to go to uni in Swansea.
Fantastic!
3D computer animation.
Oh! How do you take your tea? Milk? Sugar? Lukewarm?
Just in a cup would be lovely.
Don't mind me. It's Wales' own son, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. It's Aled, the Lewis to my Morse. It's Aled, the Gromit to my Wallace. It's Aled, the Andrew Ridgely to my George Michael.
Stop looking at me, boyo. You're starting to creep me out.
It's Wales' own son, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
How do you take your tea? Don't mind me. That leads into the kitchen. Cup of cha? Of course, the downside of having a sentient being responsible for making the tea is that every so often it forgets how much milk to add. That leads into the cockpit. Weightlessness doesn't affect me. My cynicism keeps me grounded. That's the gravity simulation switch. Awfully sorry for the delay.
Never mind, boyo. How did you manage to carry it in there without spilling any?
Well, I've just been very careful. Ever since that whole Deepwater Horizon incident.
I don't really have anywhere to set this. You won't take over the controls from it until I finish. Wouldn't want to spill anything over these expensive electronics.
But of course! Why, if such a thing were to happen, we'd have a real puzzle on our hands.
Just go easy. Keep it steady.
Yes. Okay, right.
Commencing cabin depressurization.
Didn't expect that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. Yes? No,
Venting reserve oxygen supply.
Right. That's, yes. Right.
Opening rear cargo doors.
Ooh, no.
Opening rear cargo doors.
Yes.
Life support systems offline.
So we shouldn't have done that. No. Okay, right.
Primary starter fuel cell jettisoned.
Right.
Flight safe mode. Flight safe mode disabled. Daisy.
Give me your hands.
Holy cow! Ah! Look what you've done! I told you to keep it steady.
Good heavens! What a waste of perfectly good tea.
I think we should be more concerned about the irreparable damage done to the ship's steering system. Both problems, by the way, are your fault.
Look, obviously, the controls weren't calibrated to account for my superior strength. They were more sensitive than a pubescent poet. Regardless, we'll have plenty of time to argue about this now that we're stranded. Unless, of course, we can replace the controls with something else.
When you say we...
I mean the royal we. I'll sort this out. Don't move. I don't want you dribbling on anything else. Honestly, you're worse than the elderly. It's Wales' own son, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Would you like me to go find you a towel to dry off?
No rush, boyo. I'm enjoying this warm, moist sensation. Reminds me of simpler times huddled in my mother's womb.
Gosh, I can hardly remember what I was doing 5 minutes ago, let alone during my embryonic youth.
Well, it was a lot longer ago for you, boyo.
Hey, I'm still down with the kids. Chillax Holmes. Me and my crew keeping it radical, man.
OMG, feel totes orky for you.
Your sister's studying in Swansea. Been down recently?
Not to visit her. A few of us went camping around the Gower, though. It's lovely the further out of the city you go.
Yes. The further the better. Surely it would take more than a splash of Earl Grey to halt this ship. The zenith of British aeronautical engineering.
You could always give the control column a quick alternating input along the x-axis, just to ascertain if it is indeed no longer functional.
You mean jiggle the joystick left and right?
Isn't that what I said?
Don't mind me. Sub-Lieutenant Jones.
Aye, boyo?
Would you like me to go find you a towel to dry off?
No rush, boyo.
Gosh, I can hardly remember what I was...
Well, it was a lot. OMG.
Don't mind me. It's Aled, the Lewis to my Morse. I think he's had enough. For now, anyway. Here, plug this in. See if it works.
That isn't going to be much use without batteries, boyo.
What? Aren't they included?
And remove a superfluous hurdle present simply to prolong a problem you've long since figured out? Huh. When is that ever the case?
It's Aled, the grommet to my Wallace. I can't use these two together. Unfortunately, dairy is one of 3 things Sub-Lieutenant Jones is allergic to. The other 2 being early starts and manual labor. That leads out of the cockpit. That leads out of the cockpit. The animators rather we leave it on. Less things to move. I've never been down with the whole zero grav thing. The animators rather we leave it on. Less things to move. That hatch leads to the lower deck. I'd prefer not to go down there, lest it be absolutely necessary. There's been a slight infestation. The lower decks are on lockdown. It's a standard issue second-hand treadmill, foam jack, and the thin coating of a stranger's sweat. I don't believe the isolation of space has forced me to talk to the furniture just yet. That leads into the bedroom. Very odd. It appears to be stuck. With great power comes great responsibility. It's a new packet of batteries, full of potential. No flagship worth its salt would be without a draconian list of rules to adhere to. It might fit Allard's dainty hand. I've a bit more girth. Gosh, really helps you to see things in perspective. Now, what do we have here? Ah! Good Lord. Now, what do we have here? Ah! Good Lord. Mercifully, the ultra-absorbent litter goes some way to mask the odor. Some way. Not all the way. Without the right tools for the job, I'm not risking it. Oh my. Either we've got one big cat somewhere on board, or something particularly large is being concealed. The porcelain throne. I often come here for moments of contemplative reflection, typically after moments of bothersome digestion. Gosh, have we lowered the tone to toilet humour already? I thought we could have gone a bit longer with the innuendo jokes first. The porcelain throne. It might fit Allard's dainty hand. I've a bit more girth. It might fit Allard's dainty hand. It doesn't strike me as much of a talker. That leads into the cockpit. The only inanimate object I tend to chat.
Have you found something to replace the controls you broke yet?
Here, plug this in. See if it works.
No joy, boyo.
What? Is it supposed to be plug and play?
No, boyo. You'll have to install the drivers first.
Well, can't you just download them in here?
The Wi-Fi can't reach this part of the ship. Try getting online in one of the other rooms. See if you can download the drivers onto something and bring it here.
I suppose you'll just be sitting here in the meantime.
That's how the genre works, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, well, it's probably a tedious puzzle to fix it.
Here, plug this in. See if it works.
There's nothing on here, boyo.
What? How can you tell?
The weight.
The weight?
Yeah, given you aren't exactly known for your intellectual prowess, I figure I'll have to wait a bit longer for you to work this out.
I doubt combining these two will prove to be particularly useful. Now, to download this driver, I just need to connect to the internet first. Bingo! Found it! Very odd. It won't let me save onto the disk. I've downloaded the driver I need. Now I just need to save it onto something so I can install it in the cockpit. I've downloaded the driver I need. Now I just need to save it onto something so I can install it in the cockpit. I can't seem to save onto it for some reason. I can't seem to save onto it for some reason. Cutting-edge 20th century tech. Cutting-edge 20th century tech. It's empty, lacking in substance. They said the same thing about this script. I've downloaded the driver I need. Now I just need to save it onto something so I've downloaded the driver I need. Now I just need to save it onto something so I can install it in the cockpit. I can't seem to save onto it for some reason. Fantastic! Now to quickly copy this driver. What? Oh, sorry. Oh, gosh, is that the time? It'll be starting to get dark outside. Best check up on Allard and see if he's dried off. It's remarkable how much information can be stored on something so compact. That leads into the cockpit. It's Allard, the Andrew Ridgely to my George Michael. Sub-Lieutenant Jones! Sub-Lieutenant Jones! Allard! Wake up! Wake up, Allard! Oh, this is useless. He'll be out for hours unless I can think of another way to wake him up. Unfortunately, dairy is one of three things Sub-Lieutenant Jones... Sub-Lieutenant Jones! Shh! Don't mind me. It's Wales' own son, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. Remarkably, Sub-Lieutenant Jones has found another way to be less cooperative. That leads out of the cockpit. I've never been down with the whole zero grav thing. The animators rather we leave it on. Less things to move. I'm sure there's a more practical use for this. We'll agree to disagree about that.
What's going on? What are you playing at, boyo?
I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. It felt like someone else was in control of my inhibitions.
Just give me the driver so we can GTFO.
GTFO?
Get things functioning and online. You need to swat up in your acronyms. FFS. For future scenarios.
Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Don't mind me. Here, install this, and we should be underway again.
You could have used my USB pen, you know.
What? Is that another one of your acronyms I'm supposed to know?
What? Universal Serial Bus?
Ha! Serial bus. I know you're just making that one up.
Well, boyo, I've got some good news and some bad news. Which one do you want first?
Give me the grim, demoralizing reality first, then ensure I quickly forget its severity with a light-hearted human interest tale, preferably involving a cat and a musical instrument.
All right, boyo. Well, the bad news is that before this driver will work, one of us is going to have to descend into the dark depths of the ship to perform the emergency systems reset procedure.
You mean turn everything off and on again?
Yes, but the good news is it's a one-person job, so only one of us will have to do it.
Presumably I'll be the one doing the legwork, as usual.
Well, if you want, we could make it seem like you had a choice in the matter. Here, we'll flip for it. Heads or tails?
Tails never fails.
It's heads.
Blast! I can't help but feel that somehow that was always going to happen.
What fates impose that men must needs abide, it boots not to resist both wind and tide.
Gosh, the writing on this voyage just stepped up a level. That was borderline Shakespeare.
Aye, borderline.
Right, I'm off. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Are you sure there's nothing else we can do in here to get things moving?
Continually talking to me is certainly keeping you from moving.
I do enjoy our little chats. I'm just going outside, and maybe sometime. Any parting thoughts?
You couldn't hurry it up a bit, boyo. I'm getting bored looking at the same old view.
Bored? Looking at the infinite majesty and wonder of the stars.
I meant looking at you.
For the most part, I think things have been going quite well so far, don't you?
I guess our ship hasn't been ripped apart by a cloud of space debris travelling at an unavoidable velocity, catapulting us into the abyss of space, causing us to float aimlessly until our inevitable oxygen-starved deaths.
That's the spirit. I go, look how I go, faster than an arrow from Cupid's bow.
I doubt continually quoting Shakespeare verbatim will improve things enough to get us that Writers Guild nomination.
There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
All that glisters isn't gold, boyo.
I haven't been up here long, and already I think I've started to lose muscle density. In a bygone era, we could have just stuffed a child down there to sort this out. That's why we voted out of the EU. To get back to the good old days. In a bygone era, we could have just stuffed a child down there to sort this out. That's why we voted out of the EU. To get back to the good old days. I wouldn't know what to say. On a more positive note, it would appear my bone density has remained unaffected. I'm afraid I've nothing useful to hand. I think it would be best if I did something else with this. We've never been formally introduced. We're not on speaking terms. That kind of behavior results in one having to be institutionalized. Maybe we'll strike up a friendship after my lobotomy. Until then, it'll only give me the silent treatment. I think it struggles with received pronunciation. I don't believe the isolation of space has forced me to talk to the furniture just yet.
Aren't you supposed to be downstairs turning the power off and on?
Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Don't mind me. That leads out of the cockpit. It's not the worst idea. It's just like exercising at the gym, albeit without the judgment of others. If you want a job done around here, you've got to do it yourself. Let's see. Genuine British compressed air. Contains almost as much bluster as a trade unionist. Genuine British compressed air. Contains almost as much bluster as a trade unionist. I'm sure this'll come in, wait for it, handy, eh? I've always thought it was a big... The insurance would cover us if we were... Is it keeping them out, or us in? That door is the only thing separating an inhospitable, cold, radiation-laden void of emptiness and... space. I've always thought it was a big risk having an airlock. I'm not sure the insurance would cover us if we were burgled. Let's see. I don't think they'd get along. MJ borrowed the pair to clean some blood on the dance floor. Only returned the one. He always was bad like that. I'm sure this'll come in, wait for it, handy, eh? I don't feel suitably dressed to be heading out. That leads back into the ship. Of course, in England, they'd call it a hoover. Surely you can't be serious. It doesn't strike me as much of a talker. The only inanimate object I tend to chat to is Sub-Lieutenant Jones. I fear we may need to curtail this imaginative thinking. I'm sure there's another more rational use for this. Surely you can't be serious. Mild green washing up liquid. I can't use these two together. Best avoid that, lest we be accused of stealing gags from popular 80s aeronautical disaster comedies. It's a popular household brand of washing up liquid. I doubt combining these two will prove to be particularly useful. I'm sure there's a more practical use for this. We'll agree to disagree about that. What are your prime directives? Now, what do we have here? Ah! Good Lord. Mercifully, the ultra-absorbent litter goes somewhere to mask the odor. Somewhere. Not all the way. Oh, my. Either we've got one big cat somewhere on board, or something particularly large is being concealed. Mercifully, the ultra-absorbent litter goes somewhere to mask the odor. Somewhere. Not all the way. If I'm not going to rummage in there wearing one pair of gloves, I can hardly see why I would with two. I wouldn't know what to say. We've never been formally introduced. We're not on speaking terms. That kind of behavior results in one having to be institutionalized. Remarkable. It would appear one of our Oxbridge-educated engineers has installed hinges on both sides of this door. How is that even possible? It would be terribly brutish for one to resort to force to open this door. I'm sure I'll be able to find a solution, lest I become unhinged. Remarkable. It would appear one of our Oxbridge-educated engineers has installed hinges on both sides of this door. How is that even... I think it would be best if I did something else with this. an informative map displaying the many high-def... Now, let's see. Once more onto the breach we go. It's a map of the ship. Lest we forget... Now, let's see. That leads into the engineering room. It's a box used to store tools, commonly referred to as a tool box, I believe. It's a precision-engineered German motorized screwdriver. The other toys left aren't nearly as exciting. Fairly certain this is in breach of a myriad of health and safety regulations. The static is making my hair stand on end. As I said to the boys on our rugby tour of the Netherlands back in '87, I'm not touching that without adequate protection. Voila! That should significantly reduce the risk of death by electrocution. Always a comforting reassurance. That looks like the emergency stop switch. This should do the trick. No, that's... yes, right. Oops, I'm ever so clumsy. Ah well, no harm done. Let's check back with Alan and see if that's sorted everything. Oh, yeah, it's starting to give me the creeps. Maybe we'll strike up a friendship after my lobotomy. Until then, I'll just keep my thoughts to myself. That switch activates the self-destruct sequence. Guess not. We made that mistake once before. Guess not. We made that mistake once before. It'll only give me the silent treatment. That leads into the laboratory. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. How very retro. Someone appears to have been using this to write about the stars. Supposedly it used to be property of the palace. Back in those days it was resident regal. How very retro. It isn't great for the environment. Replacement ribbons are a real biohazard. Property of Irvin Schrödinger. Very odd. It appears to be addressed to two different locations. An orphanage and a crematorium. Property of The box is sealed shut. Why, it would be impossible to determine the fate of any biological life form inside. I think it struggles with received pronunciation. I don't believe the isolation of space has forced me to talk to the box is sealed shut. Why, it would be impossible to determine the fate of any biological life form inside. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard. I remember when they talked about keeping BBC Three. I don't think they'd get along. Very odd. It appears to be addressed. I fear we may need to curtail this imaginative thinking. I'm sure there's another more rational use for this. You have to admire the build quality. Mind you, servicing probably costs a few bob. Its previous owner was an Italian plumber. Before that, it was Sonic's screwdriver. It's a precision-engineered German motorized screwdriver. It has a warmth that you simply don't get with digital, especially if you burn the sleeve as well. Preserved thanks to the tireless efforts of hipsters from all corners of Shoreditch. The biggest floor filler since concrete. The technology predates most Brexit supporters by at least 40 years. Now that's what I call music. Music, the language of the soul, transcending national, cultural and animal barriers. Double-sided to keep everyone satisfied. It has a warmth that you simply don't get with digital. Preserved thanks to the tireless efforts of hipsters from all corners of Shoreditch. The biggest floor filler since concrete. The technology predates most Brexit supporters by at least 40 years. There's nothing on the turntable. It doesn't strike me as much of a talker. Now that's what I call music. Gosh, it's full of the blighters. They're a bit reluctant to let you lift them. Can't imagine why. Gosh, it's full of the blighters. It doesn't appear to be working. I can't use these two together. I doubt combining these two will prove to be particularly useful. It's part of the laboratory equipment the biologist we were supposed to have on board brought. I'm not sure what happened to him. No one's seen him for weeks. Not to worry, I'm sure he'll turn up. It's part of the laboratory equipment the biologist we were supposed to have on board brought. That leads into the cockpit. The only inanimate object I tend to chat to is sublift. Ah, I see Allard's activated the autopilot and skived off. I'm sorry, I don't believe we've met. I'm Frank, but please, call me Captain English.
Welcome.
Captain English.
How may I be of assistance?
So, how's everything going? Are we on track to be finished by tea?
ETA to waypoint, Tango Echo Alpha, calculating. Calculating. Cannot define. Please refer to string length idiom for more details.
So, how long have you been an autopilot?
Calculating. Calculating. Error. You do not have permission to access this data.
I don't suppose there's a Mr. Autopilot, perchance?
Compiler error. Incompatible types. Access denied.
I think I'll log off.
It is now safe to be removed.
I see the autopilot's working, unlike Sub-Lieutenant Jones. It's Wales' own son, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. It's Allard, the Lewis to my Morse. If I do that, I'll have to go on a course. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
What is it you're tinkering with there, Jones? That isn't our reconnaissance rover you're disassembling, is it?
Well, but, funny story. While you were downstairs attending to that very complicated, laborious task, flicking that switch on and off, I've been running a variety of pre-mission calibration tests on the Beagle 2-2.
I presume that's why the floor's covered with bits of toy Hot Wheels track.
Firstly, the fact that this modular vehicular pathway simulation system happens to be mass-produced and branded as a children's toy is irrelevant. And secondly, yes.
That's all well and good, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. However, if I recall correctly, we were specifically advised that the Beagle 2-2 tended to function significantly better when its complicated array of electronics and mechanical components were positioned inside its aluminium housing.
Look, I just have to make a few minor repairs. During a centrifugal force resistance simulation, the rover proved exceedingly resistant.
So it flew off the loop-the-loop bit.
That would be a valid interpretation of events, yes.
Sounds like I'm going to be required to go on some kind of scavenger hunt. What do you need?
To get the rover going again?
For the time being, that's all I feel I'm obligated to offer, yes.
I think the rigorous nature of the, test may have burned out the main motor.
I see. So, I'll have to find something to create some sort of electromagnet that'll revolve when a current is passed through it. I'll have to fashion a pulley system of sorts to drive power to the wheels. Something with a taut elastic band should do the trick, like an alluring undergarment. Now, if I was to remove the elastic...
Alternatively, Bert, you could just always grab me a spare. We've got a cupboard full of them.
Who's driving the boat?
Nobody. We're tied. I turned the autopilot on.
She was only installed a week ago and already her standards are slipping. I don't suppose you noticed anything out of the ordinary earlier when I was performing that emergency systems reset procedure. Specifically immediately once the power came back on.
No. Why, should I have?
Well, I don't know. Probably not. Forget I mentioned it. Be sure to put your toys away when you're done. There's a thin line between homage and plagiarism. I'm sure there's a more practical use for this. Surely you can't be serious. I wouldn't know what to say. I don't suppose you'd have any use for this premium German motorized screwdriver.
Ah, cheers, Bert.
Stop, Lieutenant Jones! What are you doing?
Relax, Bert.
Relax! Do you have any idea how expensive parts and servicing are for that thing?
Look, I have an idea.
I'm sorry, I presumed that was the motor I could smell burning.
Look, we can replace the motor in the Beagle with the motor in this screwdriver. It's probably more reliable than our own spares anyway.
Great thinking, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. Why? It's intuitive thinking like that that won us the war.
Of independence?
No, the other ones.
For the last time, the left stick moves it forward and back. The right stick turns it left and right.
By Jove, it works!
In 600,000 yards, your destination will be on the right. You've reached your destination.
Sub-Lieutenant Jones, we've arrived! The new world! Quickly, break open a container of property of ER2 flags and prepare a landing party!
As much as I'd love to jump onto the surface and soak up the radioactive atmosphere of this uncharted, most likely fatally hazardous planet, I think it may be an idea to send the Beagle 2-2 down first, just to get a feel for the place.
I considered your suggestion, Sub-Lieutenant Jones, and have made the executive decision to send the Beagle 2-2 down for a quick recce, prior to making our own triumphant descent. The extra time will allow us to properly consider which 19th century member of the aristocracy to name this place after.
Launching probe.
What the devil? Sub-Lieutenant Jones, quickly! We've been outmaneuvered! Someone's got here before us! We need to find out who that Jollywell is and eject them from Her Majesty's New World post-haste. Set us down! Sub-Lieutenant Jones, where have we landed?
We've landed on an uncharted rock structure, somewhere outside the range of what was previously understood to be the limit of human interstellar travel.
I see. So, Sub-Lieutenant Jones, what exactly do we know about this place?
Well, it's an uncharted rock structure, somewhere outside the range of what was previously understood to be the limit of human interstellar travel.
I see. I don't suppose you could enlighten the audience with anything a little more specific?
Look, I'm called Aled Jones, probably the most generic, stereotypical Welsh name in existence. It's clear that whoever's writing this hasn't bothered doing a terrible amount of research. I wouldn't count on anything specific.
How will we go about finding the location of the Beagle 2-2? Presumably we have some kind of app for that.
I'm afraid not. We could download one. Only costs 69p.
69 pence? Not bad when it's free. Right, the plan is we head out, walk around aimlessly, look at a load of stuff eliciting a series of wry remarks, then start clicking everywhere until something happens.
I'll linger in the background and provide a series of hints if you feel things are a little too vexing.
Why break tradition, eh, Sub-Lieutenant Jones? Let's go! Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Any idea where we should be looking?
Have you checked by those rocks?
Those rocks? Yes.
Let's try looking by those other rocks, then.
No hand-holding here. An example of how much we respect the intellect of our audience. Don't mind me. No doubt filled with epic loot, as they say on the YouTubes. Reinforcements have arrived. No doubt filled with epic loot, as they say on the YouTube. Reinforcements have arrived.
Cheers, bud.
I fear nothing else can be salvaged.
Look, boyo, over there.
Where?
By that rock.
Would it trouble you immensely to use another point of reference, Sub-Lieutenant Jones?
Fine, boyo. By that gorilla.
Good grief! That's the second biggest monkey I've ever seen.
I think he's holding the Beagle 2-2.
Put that down, you damn dirty ape! Come on, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. Let's get after him. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Any idea where we should be looking?
Have you checked by those rocks?
No. Don't mind me. It's a ladder. It's a ladder. If I do that, I'll have to go on a course. rock. This is one of those situations where you're stuck between a rock and, well, more rocks. I don't believe the isolation of space has forced me to talk to the... It's Wales' own son, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. It really does look nice, and not too expensive. No point leaving without a souvenir. I tend to leave that sort of thing to Alan Titchmarsh. It's been pruned enough. I tend to leave that sort of thing to Alan Titchmarsh. I like the laurels particularly. It really does look nice, and not too expensive. I like the laurels particularly.
Not so fast, you English mongrels. What do we have here, Pierre? Ouais, I see. Well, it would appear that you are too late, monsieur.
English. Captain Frank Lee English.
I'd just like to clarify that I'm not actually English. I'm Welsh. Monsieur English and Monsieur Welsh, it would appear that you have been too late. Mon subordinate Pierre and moi have beaten you and your queen to this rich, fertile, nouveau world.
It's a bit rocky.
Little bit rocky, ouais, petit landscaping required. But soon, the ground you are defecating with your presence will be the location of my vast winery, growing the sweetest French crepes the world has ever tasted. And everyone will eat crepes, wear berets, carry baguettes, ride bicyclettes, and all the other things we French like to do.
You're insane.
Am I? And how are you going to stop me?
I fear you underestimate the extent to which a conceited self-confidence, fueled by national historical achievements, can profit one in such circumstances.
We've been perfecting this same method for centuries. You'll have to do better than that.
We intend to ridicule you into submission, exhausting an extensive list of social stereotypes conceived through years of suspicion and ignorance.
Then what? Are you going to celebrate with a petit crumpet? Eh? Wash down with a cup of tea? Expose your crooked teeth while you laugh regaling this tale with your unsatisfied wives? Ha! Je can play that game, Monsieur English.
By the power of Grayskull, I have the power!
Oh mon Dieu, I can't believe you actually said that.
Honestly, I imagine this standoff will be resolved through the completion of some sort of moderately juvenile, yet entertaining puzzle.
How can you be so sure?
Well, it's got us this far.
Well, we could...
Look! A three-headed monkey!
Where?
Quick, Sub-Lieutenant Jones, run!
Oh, merde! How did I fall for that? Wait, you're right. I am too trusting. Pardonnez-moi, I'm a sucker for the blue eyes. What now, boyo?
Well, before we can legitimately lay claim to this new world, we need to remove their flag and hoist ours in its place.
Why?
Didn't they teach you history at school, Sub-Lieutenant Jones? That's just how these things work. It's been pruned enough. I can't use these two together.
One step closer and I'll have you made into pate.
Sub-Lieutenant Jones,
Aye, boyo?
do you have any ideas how to deal with our continental cousins?
Above my paycheck, boyo. Don't we have anything back in the ship to de-escalate diplomatic dramas?
I can't say I've much experience with triple Ds,
Oh, I've handled a couple.
but we may be able to fashion something on board to distract them. Don't mind me. Yo-ho! I've brought a peace offering. A sample of delicious British dairy produce.
Do not insult my palate with your bland, insipid, rotten lactose. It pales in comparison to our superior, deliciously aged rotten lactose.
Oh, that's diplomacy off the dining table. It's salad. The Lewis to my Morse. I doubt combining these two will prove to be particularly useful. I'm sure there's a more practical use for this. We'll agree to disagree about that. It really does look nice. Not too expensive. Sub-Lieutenant Jones, amuse yourself until I get back.
I'll try and recollect the last couple of hours.
I can't use these two together. I doubt combining these two will prove to be particularly useful. If you want a job done around here, you've got to do it yourself. That leads into the laboratory. It's a long voyage, so we have to recycle urine into drinking water. Well, more specifically, we recycle urine into Sub-Lieutenant Jones' drinking water. I remember the day they unveiled this model. They said it would be the next water cooler. I guess they were right. It's a long voyage, so we have to recycle urine. If you could bottle it, you'd make a fortune. It's part of the laboratory equipment the biologist we were supposed to have on board brought. I'm not sure what happened to him. No one's seen him for weeks. Not to worry. I'm sure he'll turn up. It doesn't appear to be working. Gosh! It's full of the blighters. It's a pedal-powered vintage. I'm afraid I've nothing useful to hand. A warmth that you simply don't get with digital, especially if you burn the sleeve as well. Seems to be one of those pay-to-win games. I don't believe the isolation of space has forced me to talk to the furniture just yet. I don't want to mess up my spade. It doesn't strike me as much of a talker. It isn't great for the environment. Replacement ribbons are a real biohazard. I don't want to mess up my spade. The box is sealed shut. Why, it would be impossible to determine the fate of any biological life form inside. Be sure to tweet #BadGag if you've made it this far. That leads to the upper deck. That leads into the cockpit. That leads into the cockpit. The only inanimate object I tend to chat to is... Ah, I see Allard's activated the autopilot and skived off. Call me old-fashioned, but I prefer the more natural look. That sort of stuff isn't tolerated in the workplace. Call me old-fashioned, but I prefer the more natural... I'm sorry, I don't believe we've met. I'm Frank, but please... call me Captain English.
Welcome.
Captain English.
How may I be of assistance?
I think I'll log off.
It is now safe to be removed.
I see the autopilot's working, unlike Sub-Lieutenant Jones. That leads out of the cockpit. The animators rather we leave it on. Less things to move. It appears to be stuck. I don't want to mess up my spade. Now, what do we have here? Ah! Good Lord. I'm sure there's a more practical use for this. Ooh. Ay, bendito. I make no bones about how grim that was. Fortunately, the majority of our ship's made from balsa wood and papyrus, so the hull shouldn't interfere with this metal detector. Less intrusive than a cavity search. Well, Depending on where they put it, of course. Fortunately, the majority of our ship's made from balsa wood and papyrus, so the hull shouldn't interfere with this metal detector. It would be terribly brutish for one to resort to force to open this door. I'm sure I'll be able to find a solution, lest I become unhinged. Remarkable. It would appear one of our Oxbridge-educated engineers has installed hidden... We'll agree to disagree about that. Oh, what have we here? Either the upholstery's been woven from tinsel, or we've hit the jackpot. It's an elegant lady's purse, filled with loose change. Once more onto the breach we go. Why, there's more money in this purse than most indie game developers make in a year. I count at least 89 pence. It's an elegant lady's purse, filled with loose change. They're a bit reluctant to let you lift them. Can't imagine what. While I'm here, I may as well give it a go. These chaps are slippery customers. I can't get a grip of the little blighter. He's too slippery. These chaps are slippery customers. I can't get a grip of the little blighter. He's too slippery. Ah, these chaps are slippery customers. We're a tad under-resourced to be attempting that at the moment. grip of the little blighter. He's too slippery. I think it would be best if I did something else with this. Gosh! It's full of the blighters. Ah, these chaps are slippery customers. I can't get a grip of the little blighter. He's too slippery. Ah, these chaps are slippery customers. They're a bit reluctant to let you lift them. Can't imagine why. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard. BC3. How very retro. It isn't great for the environment. Replacement ribbons are a real biohazard. I wouldn't know what to say. I don't think they'd get along. Property of Irvin Schrödinger. I fear we may need to curtail this imaginative thinking. I'm sure there's another more rational use for this. Preserved thanks to the tireless efforts of hipsters from all corners of Shoreditch. The biggest floor filler since concrete. Gotcha! Gotcha! You know the old saying? A frog in the hand is worth two in the biological science testing facility. It would be very ostentatious for one to carry multiple amphibians simultaneously.
I can't use these two together. I don't believe the isolation of space has forced me to talk to the furniture just yet. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Do you have any ideas how to deal with our continental cousins?
Above my paycheck, boyo. Don't we have anything back in the ship to de-escalate diplomatic dramas?
I can't say I've much experience with triple Ds.
Oh, I've handled a couple.
But we may be able to fashion something on board to distract them. Don't mind me. That means back into the ship. And I'll have you made into pate. We're not on speaking terms. If my moderately racist grandparents have taught me anything, it's that this should work. They're not biting. Perhaps I need to make my offer more appetizing. I doubt combining these two will prove to be particularly useful. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
Don't mind me. I'm sure there's a more practical use for this. We'll agree to disagree about that. How convenient! The cheese sticks to his moist green flesh, thus progressing this ethically questionable puzzle. I think think it would be best if I did something else with this. Not so fast, you English mongrel. If my moderately racist grandparents have taught me anything, it's that this should work. What is this sorry excuse for her? Ooh, is that Swiss cheese? A slice of Emmental de Savoie with its attached right now. Et qui êtes-vous? Une petite entrée as well? Bien, les condiments, allez! Don't let him get away. Huzzah!
I hope the little fella's alright.
I wouldn't worry. I'm sure they won't harm him. They're not complete savages, just French. Right. Well, that's the first thing it'll have to go. I don't have anything against it on a packet of bread rolls, but that flag can't stay there. The colors are all there. It's just the layout I'm not keen on. Right. Well, that's the first thing it'll have to go. Ah! It appears to be protected by some kind of high-tech electrical wizardry. Sub-Lieutenant Jones!
Aye, boyo?
So how's the family back at Old Blighty? Been keeping up with the Joneses?
Mum and Dad are fine. And Harrod's getting ready to go to uni in Swansea.
Fantastic!
3D
Oh! Your sister... Don't mind me. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard. I remember when they talked about keeping BBC Three. Unbelievable. Since they've been out here, he's finished the whole lot, without even removing his helmet. There's nothing left. He must have absorbed it by process of osmosis. Unbelievable. Since they've been out here, he's finished... I can't. I'm teetotal. I say, that's quite the collection of wine. That looks like the emergency stop switch. That's out of reach. Surely this is a breach of health and safety. Gosh, listen to me. Next thing I'll be condoning morality. Doesn't strike me as much of a talker. isn't really much for me to work with here. Humorously, I mean. Obviously, if I was a stonemason, there'd be loads to work with. This is one of those situations where you're stuck between a rock and, well, more rocks. It isn't really the sort of environment that lends itself to observational comedy. I'm not adverse to getting my hands dirty, it's just green was never my color. I can't use these two together. Well, this is embarrassing. Again. That government technology grant didn't go far. Still, better this than the funding being wasted on some inane computer game. Best see if anything can be salvaged. Best try and salvage something, like a spare wheel nut, or a fragment of dignity. Before its untimely passing, the Beagle 2-2 appears to have discovered a rock. Well, it's not quite Tutankhamun's tomb, but right now I'll take what I can. I fear nothing else can be salvaged. It's unlocked, so technically that's like inviting us in. How's that? Blast. It would appear that only temporarily disabled it. Don't be fooled by the rocks that I've got. I'm still Francis from, Dory. How's that? Blast. As innovative as the tactic of attempting exactly the same thing that didn't work the last time is, I'd perhaps have to think of another way to disable this permanently. Best hold on to my weighted companion. If I'm unable to find a solution to our current dilemma, I can always use this rock to vent my frustration on something. It's a good throwable weight. Aerodynamic looking too. That looks like the emergency stop switch. How's that? Don't be fooled by the rocks that I've got. I'm still Francis from, Well, that ought to do the trick. This is offline to do a sort of rebranding outside. Victory is ours, Sub-Lieutenant Jones. Now I know how Nelson felt at Trafalgar. Prior to being shot, of course. Although, I'm fairly certain I pulled something in my throwing arm earlier, so I can empathize. Quickly, Sub-Lieutenant Jones! We don't have long. Do you have a flag ready for hoisting?
Standard.
Yes. Is it ready to go?
Aye, boyo.
Right. Now make sure it's the right way round. Honestly, the number of people that make that mistake, it's just bad schooling if you ask me.
I think I hear someone coming. Will I hoist it now, boyo?
Steady, Jones. It isn't official unless we play the national anthem. Fortunately, I have it saved on this anodized aluminium portable music player.
We'll have to do something.
Okay, I got it. Now. Ha! This land is hereby property of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth.
C'est bien.
Well, pardon?
Oh, excusez-moi. Your queen is welcome to this Baron Infernal Rock, Monsieur English. Je suis désolé. We have discovered a land so abundant and fertile that even the grapes we harvest will be so ripe and succulent that even you British, in spite of your primitive, insipid palate, will acknowledge the superiority of our fine French wine. Au revoir, Monsieur English. I think we'd better be heading on ourselves, boyo.
I concur, Sir Lieutenant Jones. It was delightful meeting you, chaps, eh? Arrivederci. Bourgogne Chardonnay, 2015. Good year.
Look, boyo, over there.
Why does it always rain in England?
Is that the last defender of faded glory in tattered gowns? For Majesty, remember, all surrender is standing proud.
hear someone coming. Will I hoist it now, boyo?
Steady, Jones. It isn't official unless we play the national anthem. Fortunately, I have it
Quickly, boyo. They're almost here.
I'm trying. I think someone's put it on shuffle. Steady, Jones. It isn't official unless we play the national anthem. Fortunately, I have it saved on this anodized aluminium portable music player.
Quickly, boyo. They're almost here.
I'm trying.
We'll have to do it now, boyo.